From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. Hey, James, I'm glad we're back and we have a episode just you and me today to talk about a topic that seems to come up a lot.
It's always good to catch up with you, Steve, and our topics just seem to get better and better, and I look forward to this one.
And what we're alluding to is the whole idea of whether you're a programmer or a configurer. And while there's nothing wrong with either one, because I have a whole session on programming versus configuration, and there's a time and a place for both, and they're very effective. I think some people, for their career and where they stand in their organization, can get a little bit frustrated if their desire and what they're trying to do to hone their craft doesn't align well with the needs of the company that they're with or the needs of their clients. So, James, I know that you've had a little bit of experience, on both sides, and just like me, programming is really where you can flex your muscles. When somebody is faced with this type of a situation, do they try to buck the system and force or be outspoken about the fact that they want to use programming, even though configuration is a better fit for that need? Or do they kind of stick with configuration, do what they have to do and get really good at it, and hope that there's going to be opportunities to get that programming experience also under their belt?
To me, the way I look at it is you really need to find what is best for your end user. Like in my situation where I'm working for a university, whatever I'm doing needs to be beneficial for the students. If I am writing custom code and just to write custom code, and it's not benefiting the students, they're not gaining a better educational experience because I'm taking, let's say a day to write a code to update rooms and stuff, where a configurator, we can bang them all out, get them going. That's doing a disservice to our users. So I'm to the point is you're not going to have one that fits the one size fit all. You need to go with what is best for your users. And if you're in a situation where configurator is best for your users, but you feel it's not best for you, then it seems like your situation needs to change. Go to get into a situation that fits your future that you're looking for.
So I think you bring up a really good point, and that's certainly looking at it as being kind of a team player and a company person, and it's definitely right to make sure that you're doing what fits the need best. And is there? So are you losing something by maybe doing one versus the other? So I guess what I've heard some people say is they feel like they don't have the ability to advance themselves in configuration. It satisfies a certain need, and then they really are maxed out. They're not able to grow because they've learned what they needed to learn, and because of the nature of it, it's easy, and it eliminates a lot of the challenging parts of implementation, because it gives you a head start, and a lot of the functional pieces are already done for you. Is somebody missing out by not by being in that environment too much?
I would say yes and no. I know I'm it sounds like I'm giving a
Well,
political answer here, pleasing all avenues. But the way I look at it is I've always used this hashtag always be learning or always learning. If you're wanting to expand your horizon, but your work environment is all configurator and you know that inside and out, then you need to find a pet project to, expand your knowledge. Because you should be always learning. Once you become stagnant in the ways you do things, you get stuck in the mud. And then your morale drops, your quality of that you're providing to your end users is suffering. And then we go back to the whole thing of our end users are then you're doing a disservice to them. So I definitely think you need to find challenges that are always advancing you. You got to get the job done. You got to get the room, code, whatever is fixed and going. But you also need to be able to flex your muscle. And just like our physical muscles, our brain needs to work. If we don't, work out our muscles, they're not going to grow. You're not going to get stronger. You're not going to go improve. Same with our brain. If you're not flexing it, you're not working it, it's going to become stagnant and you're going to kind of just be a bump on a log.
yeah, I think a lot of there are some that are happy being very comfortable and being very good at something, and there are some that that's just frustrating. So it does depend on who you are and what your personality is, because quite honestly, configuration can be a nice job. It works. You get it to work every time. No stress, no fuss. There aren't that many variables, and when it doesn't work, you can usually look to somebody else, that being the manufacturer, the software provider, to help solve that, versus programming is more open-ended, a lot more variables, and a lot more potential challenges that you'll incur when you do it, because you're jumping in the deep end. You don't have the safety net to work with as much. I think one of the things that I found that can be a little misleading are people that do take maybe a program template and continue to modify that from time to time. Now they're doing programming and they're making the system work, but they're really almost like kind of skating on thin ice, because they don't really understand the code that they're working with, because they may not have written it. They may have been given it and been told, hey, just take this, modify it a little bit, and work with it. The issue comes in, and this is what I say is usually the kind of separates those who are really skilled versus those who are novices. What do you do when it doesn't work? Because that's always the hard part. And whether that's something that you're writing code, you're configuring, or even a DIY project, such as maybe some home automation. It's great when it works, and you follow the steps, and the setup, it leads you to the result you're looking for. But when it doesn't, there aren't that many things that are within your realm to be able to do to fix it.
Yes, that definitely can become frustrating. And I think when you run into a situation like that, that's where you need to flex your muscles and work your brain and learn to develop a workaround for that. So if you are doing a home automation, or if you're using configurator in your environment and it's not meeting your needs, well, you're getting the job done. You kind of think of it as like you're buying a house and the house is move-in ready. That's your configurator. It's move-in ready. You can get going until you can learn or improve your code to meet what you need the room to do. So you get the configured code out there, you get it working, your environment's going, and now you're flexing your muscle, you're developing your code. And once that is fully baked, you can roll that out into your spaces.
So what you're saying, and it's an interesting concept, is you can get a room up and running with configurator or a configured solution. Let's call it. I don't not we won't talk about brands, but you can get a room up and running to know it works, and then if you want, as you mentioned, to learn some things to hone your craft or advance your skills, you can almost write the same code for that system uh, from scratch in a programmed environment and see if the system still works the same way. That's actually an interesting concept because you've proven out the design and you know that the room can work, and you actually have a fallback with your configured solution.
Yeah, no, totally. And definitely start small and build onto it. Kind of this year, I did that with the holiday lights at my house. We're currently at my mom's house. And my brother used to do it all the time, and he ran with Raspberry Pi, computer program, all the lights, and he hasn't for a while. So I asked if I could take over this year, and he said, "Sure, no problem." And he gave me all his equipment, and I'm like, "Okay, I haven't done this yet." So I started small. I took a couple of his displays, put them out. I learned the system. Now I got the system working. Now I'm advancing on it. I'm adding the features I want and making changes where I need to be.
And I guess similar to what we talked about in past episodes, the idea is get getting something working and learning to do it one way is great. And once you know how that works, see if there's other ways that you can approach it, and also see, maybe share your code with somebody and see how they would handle it versus how you handled it. I guess are good ways to learn as well.
Yeah, I definitely, that is a nugget I took from our last guest we had, Steven. There is doing the code review. I'm trying to figure out how that would be best served in my environment with me being an own programmer. So, like we talked about, I might have to reach out to outside sources, but being able to provide peer review of the code, I think is very beneficial and to learn and help people grow.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can see that being extremely valuable. And one of the things that, going back to, also past conversations about education in the industry and how do people advance their skills and how and where do you go to learn, I think learning from others that have either been in your place or maybe come at it from a whole different angle. Maybe higher ed learns from corporate, or maybe, company that is in the position that mine is in gets to see a whole variety of solutions and be in very many situations. And I think that's one of the reasons why we get our skills as quickly developed as we do. But it also is hard to excel in that environment because everything is very different and the people that you work with can be different. Even though there's repeat business, there's also a very big variety and a wide spectrum of solutions and situations that you deal with.
Oh yeah,
Um,
100% agree with that.
I guess in wrapping up for today, I think there are definitely some people that are challenged with this situation. Is there anything that you would offer? And is, for as far as a recommendation to somebody that wants to be able to do more, or other than looking for a new environment to be in, how do you, other than tinkering, find ways to evolve?
Um, I would say the best bet is get a test environment going where you can develop a proof of concept. Because if you are a configurator house, you feel that custom coding is better for your users and stuff. The only way administration is going to listen is if you can show them proof of concept. So show it to them, develop something. We all have spare equipment around. We all have some little space you can throw some equipment in. Set that up and show your boss, your administration, the buy-in from your users, what you can do and where it can be beneficial to your environment. If you're working in higher ed or if you're working corporate, show them the beneficial, because unfortunately users are people who want to see things. They don't want to be told things. They want to see it. They want to experience. So you have to give it to them.
I love that. I think that's a great idea, and it may even require taking it apart a little bit, because as we said previously, the end result may look the same, but you have to go under the hood a little to talk about why one way is more beneficial than the other, and it may not be within this particular application, but when you start to scale or when you have to do modifications, or just in being able to be more accommodating to changes and users' needs. So that I love. I think that's great insight. How can people get in touch with you, learn more what you're up to, and continue this conversation?
I would love to continue the conversation with any of our listeners. So definitely reach out. You can find me on Twitter, AV_James King. Usually Steve and I are commenting on the AV and the AM stuff. So that's a great way to get the conversation rolling as well. I'm on Twitter or on LinkedIn, but I'm not there much. James King. I do write the IT and AV column for the Higher Ed Digital magazine. So I'm over there as well.
And for me, you can reach me at Steve Greenblatt on social media. And I do some writing for AV Network and AV Technology magazine, as well as my company blog at controlconcepts.net. And some podcasting with AV Nation on State of Control. So please check those out. But more importantly, let us know what you think of the show. Leave us some comments, some feedback. Reach out with ideas. We're always looking for new voices, new thoughts, and we welcome guests. So if you want to be a part of it and join this conversation, and if you wouldn't mind sharing the episodes, we'd very much value that. You could find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. And with that, this has been Ask the Programmer.